Let's take a deep dive into Burp macros and understand how we can build them to automate tasks and defeat particular application defenses. Now that we understand how Burp handles our sessions and cookies, let's move into the macro section of the menu where we can begin to work with the macro editor itself. This macro editor is going to allow us to configure all the details we need for building our macro. Now, when we first begin to record a macro, you're going to be presented with a pop-up that contains all of your proxy history information. Now, from that history table, you're going to have to select the particular request that you want in scope, that is, that you want recorded, in order to determine what gets played in your macro. Now, once those steps are chosen, you can continue to use the editor to configure the particular order of those steps, as well as other details that we will look at now. So it's very important that you carefully look at the items that need to be configured. For example, if you're handling hidden form fields or variables or parameters, you need to make sure that when you configure your macro, that particular values are being set properly. And you'll see how to do this in the demo. So let's go ahead and put these ideas to the test by looking at our first macro demo. This is going to be a demo of an invalid session. Now, in the video, I am using a free vulnerable web application known as Matilliday. Matilliday is available on the internet on multiple platforms. You shouldn't have any problems downloading it and installing it. I've also posted instructions on where you can download Matilliday if you would like to go ahead and set this up in your environment. In this demo, let's see how we can turn an invalid session into a valid one using a macro. So as you can see right now, we are not logged in. The only thing that I've done in Burp so far is I've just set my scope to point to where I have deployed Matilliday. Go ahead and log in. I'm going to log in as admin. The password is admin pass. Okay, and now I'm going to actually log out. So this is where I actually made the call to log out. And in the response, the UID and the username were deleted from my session. So these two cookies were deleted from my session, which should make my session invalid. And if I check the very next request and I go to the render tab, I can see that I'm not logged in. I'm going to send this to the repeater. So what I want to do is I want to create a macro that will automatically log me in. So how we can do this is let's go over to the project options, sessions tab, and we're going to add a brand new session handling rule. We're going to call this rule log me in. Now in the rules actions, go ahead and run my login macro. Now I don't have any macros created yet, so let's go ahead and add one. You're going to see a copy of the HTTP history table. What I want to look for is the step that I took in order to log in. So here you can see the post, and the post actually calls a 302, which is a redirect. So we want to actually grab also the following get, because that puts us at a status code of 200. So we want both of those. So let's go ahead and select these, and we want to click OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and name this login process. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that the parameters are configured properly. So username here is admin, password is admin pass. Now what I can also do is I can test this macro to verify that it's going to work as I expect. So I can click test macro. And when I go to the second response, I see a message that tells me I'm logged in and that I'm admin. So click OK. We're done with this macro editor. We need to define the scope for this particular session handling rule to run. Now, I'm only going to work in repeater. The other thing that I have to specify is the URL scope. One more thing that I want you to do that will help you to kind of see how this runs is go to Extender. I would like for you to install this extension called Logger++. Now what that does is it's going to give you another tab over here. If you go to the options, I don't want all of the tools to be logged, I just want Repeater to be logged. There's also a clear the logs here should you have some junk in there already. Okay, so now I think we're ready. We've got our macro that is enabled to log us in. So when I click Go Now, and I go to the Render tab, then I'm logged in. Now if we go to that Logger tab, and we pull down this bottom portion so we can see what happened, you can see that the very two macro recorded steps were played. And then this third request is that final go that we clicked inside of the repeater. These three calls got invoked with that one go click. And that's why I like this logger, because it can show you in detail what is actually happening behind the scenes. So that's your first macro in handling sessions that are invalid.